Hey everyone, welcome back to the Corner of Curiosity. I'm your host Jazz, and I just recently finished watching The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix. This came out literally this past Friday, October 17th, and as soon as I finished watching the video, I restarted it because I knew I wanted to make a video about it. This documentary really shocked me. It was really heart-wrenching because of the style it was filmed in, which I'll get into that in the video, but it was very tense and very emotional, and I did tear up while watching the documentary because I've really never seen a documentary like this. This is the case of Susan Lorincz, who murdered her neighbor in like broad daylight just because she thought she was quote unquote scared. Anyway, we'll get into that, but I wanted to break down the story, the people involved, the timeline, and all the messy layers surrounding this case. So with that being said, we're just going to get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is like the breakdown, I guess the lay of the land, like what's the situation going on here. This case took place in Ocala, Florida in 2023. So this documentary is filmed with all body cam footage. There's no like talking head or narrator-esque scenes, if that makes sense, in this documentary. Like, you know, normal documentaries, they usually have like a talking head and they have a narrator and they like explain the story to you. No, this is filmed all through body cam footage and police interviews. And I really liked that aspect of the documentary because it seemed like it was less biased versus having someone just on there telling you what happened from their perspective. It's literally taking witnesses and people filmed on body cam footage and, you know, outtakes from police officers that were on the scene, and it just goes through the whole line of events, which I really enjoyed that. The two main people involved in this documentary that you kind of see their perspectives from is Susan Lorincz and Ajike, or a lot of people call her AJ, so I probably will refer to her as that in this video. She was the mother of four who ultimately lost her life. Now that you kind of see like the layout of what the whole documentary is about, this basically focuses on the tyrant that Susan was throughout this whole neighborhood. This was a small community in Florida. People just were trying to just live their lives. It was a normal neighborhood. Susan came in and kind of just nobody could be kids and nobody could live their lives. Like, she always was getting on people about being in her quote unquote yard, even though it really wasn't her yard, and just really just being a terrorizer to everyone in the neighborhood. Literally, the documentary starts off with neighbors saying that Susan has been a problem since she moved in and she doesn't like children playing in her quote yard.
Has she lived here the whole time or something different?
No, she moved in after we did. Maybe 2 years she's been here. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. So approximately 2 years.
But from my understanding, everybody, all the kids, has problems with this lady.
And the reason I'm putting her yard in quotes is because she rented this duplex, and that being said, since it's a duplex, she doesn't own the yard that's around her house, because her house was like right here on the side, and then there was this patch of grass that the kids would like to play football and play games and do whatever on that side, and she would always yell at them to get off her yard and like, that's not yours and blah blah blah, always yell at the kids and terrorize them and do like yell and scream and cuss at them. And instead of just being a normal neighbor and just letting kids be kids, she would just go out and yell at them, even though this land is not theirs. And that's like literally into the first 5 minutes of the documentary is her just going off on kids and people saying that she's been a problem for over 2 years, because this documentary the documentary is filmed over 2 years. So the first incident that we see when Susan calls the police, because she calls the police multiple times before this event even occurs. Susan calls the police because she thinks that her neighbor, which we find out she blames AJ, quote, hit her with a no trespassing sign because was yelling at AJ in the first place. So she comes out with a no trespassing sign and she's saying that AJ picked it off the ground and like flung it at her.
I mean, you can see she really threw it at me. And she shouldn't have removed the sign either. It's the landlord's sign. I was actually going to buy this apartment after.
Police asked neighbors around and they're like, no one saw. AJ hit Susan with that. She's lying. And they're saying to the police, like, she's always been a problem. She's always doing this. She's always bothering the kids.
All right, well, just follow me.
Hey, ma'am?
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
Yeah, she didn't touch that lady. She just took the thing out the ground and that was it.
And this part in the documentary, you start to notice that they have a clip of people talking about the type of mother AJ was, and they start to refer to her in the past tense. So they're saying like, she was a great mother, she was a great neighbor, things like that. And it kind of notes to like, hey, something is going on here. Like, what happened? Your gears are starting to turn there. And then another note, and as we get into the documentary, Susan keeps calling the police. Like, there's multiple occasions where she calls the police on specifically, I think, AJ's kids, because AJ had 4 children. One of them is like the main main focus in the documentary that you'll see as it goes on. But another instance, Susan calls the police and they start to kind of realize that she is a really big problem. Because at first the police were treating her as just like a regular person, like, hey, get off, like just telling the kids like, hey, get off her yard, just leave her alone, you know, just do your thing. And then they would go to the other neighbors and be like, yeah, we get it, she's annoying basically, but like you just have to deal with it at this point. She keeps calling the police and keep wasting their resources and keep wasting officers' time, and they start to come around like, hey, this lady is kind of psycho. Like, she keeps terrorizing these kids and antagonizing them, and they see that the kids and the people, other neighbors, are not the problem. It's Susan at the end of the day. And the documentary keeps noting that Susan has been a problem for a while and mentioning other instances where she's almost caused harm or tried to get a reaction out of the kids, like trying to like instigate them to do something to her, which is weird. Then we have the first event. They show a date, which was April 25th, 2023. This is where police show up to the neighborhood again. This is like the third time that Susan's called the police, and this is the first 30 minutes of the movie. So if that doesn't tell you what type of lady Susan is, I don't know what will, but literally a child runs up to the police officer and is like, the Karen called again. Like, the kids refer to her as Karen in the movie, which I think is very funny because it fits her. The neighborhood kids come and yell up and say Susan probably called again. The children say Susan was yelling at them for the umpteenth time, and she brings up the incidents again where AJ quote unquote threw a sign at her, which did not happen. Another clip that happens is the police are talking to the neighbor about Susan again, and they kind of just be like, hey, she just needs to realize that she lives around a bunch of children, and at the end of the day she just needs to get over it.
Like running past her windows and screaming and like ding dong ditching her and knocking on her door. There does come a point where you kind of have to accept that you live with a bunch of kids. She's also the only one that ever calls
or move somewhere else, because a lot of the neighbors are coming up to the police and being like, she said that she was going to move 2 or 3 months ago, she's still here, she doesn't like the kids that much, why doesn't she just find somewhere else to live if it's that much of a problem? Then we move on to May 22nd, 2023. This is when Susan shows up to the police station, quote unquote over it. She wants to press charges against AJ, which is the neighbor or one of the neighbors, but since there's no video evidence or no proof or no eyewitnesses saying that she saw AJ throw a sign at her, they just say it's going to be a glorified police document. Like, this isn't really going to go anywhere, so you really don't need to cause this much of a commotion. Like, literally just let it be, just let it go. That's basically what they're trying to do. It fast forwards to a snippet of a kid talking about how one day Susan was like getting at them about something and kind of like flashed a gun at them, like showing that she has a gun in her possession. That kind of foreshadows like something is going to happen. Like, the kids began to run and scream and yell like, she's got a gun, get out of here, like run, like leave her alone kind of thing. And then it flash forwards to June 2nd, 2023, which is the day of everything that transpired. When I was watching this video, just on my commentary, I really don't like how much this documentary showed the grieving of these children. Like, you'll see that one of AJ's children's kind of like has to go through this, not by himself, but like he's surrounded by neighbors. His dad isn't there at the scene when it happens, not until after. And it's really sad to see how much Netflix or whoever made the documentary showed of him grieving and him being so upset and so heartbroken over what happened to his mom. I really didn't like that. But to go over what happened in this event, this is another event of Susan acting crazy towards the kids in the neighborhood, talking, and she even took a child's iPad, which is the whole catalyst thing, is she took the child's iPad from him because something happened, and then she came out and threw a pair of skates at him, got out and like threatened him with an umbrella and things. And of course AJ's mom is going to be like, you're not going to talk to my kid like that, like why are you doing that? And Susan's like, yeah, go get your mom, I'll talk to her, like I want to talk to her, blah blah blah. So she's kind of instigating the situation by telling the kid to bring her mom. You could have just been like dead it right there, like, hey, just let it go, like just go away, get away from my house. But no, she instigated it and saying that like, hey, go get your mom, I want to talk to your mom. So rightfully so, AJ comes up and she's like banging on the door like, hey, come talk to me, like you were yelling at my kid, come talk to me, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden you hear a bang and people are like, what's going on? That being said, Izzy or Isaac, which is one of AJ's sons, come running out saying like, my mom was shot, go call the police, my mom was shot. And they're saying to call 911 because Susan shot his mom.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
I think somebody just got shot. I heard one shot and everybody screaming, call the police.
and I think somebody got shot and that boy fell over here.
That being said, AJ is laying on the ground. The police are called. The police come, rushing to the scene, administering first aid, things like that. And the police come and ask her, like, hey, what happened? Like, what's going on here? Why did you shoot her in the first place? What do you have to say for yourself, basically? And she was like, I thought she said she was gonna kill me. I felt so threatened, like she was gonna kill me, blah, blah, blah. And this is where the documentary starts to get very, very tense, because this point in the movie, she starts crying and hollering about, like, she was gonna kill me. But then a second later, she, like, calmed down and was, like, ranting about the neighborhood kids bothering her. So I'm like, lady, do you even feel bad about what you just did to this person? And in the interview footage, she goes off on the police officer. But this is when the documentary starts to get really, really tense, because crime has happened. You can kind of see where Susan's head is at, because the police come knock on her door, and instead of just coming out at her on her free will, on her own accord, because she knows she did something wrong, she barricades herself in the house. She's like,
I don't know what's going on. You're gonna be detained for now.
Is there anybody else in the house?
Nope.
No, not right now.
You're not under arrest. You're being detained. Come over here.
just being quote unquote scared about what happened, and the police are yelling at her to come outside with her hands up, and she gets detained. She goes to the police station. And then this cuts to Isaac, I feel like he's like the middle son, I'm not really sure. Yeah, so Isaac is obviously heartbroken about what happened to his mom, but he has hope that his mom is going to, come out of this. He's surrounded by the other neighbors in the area, like just comforting him while they, go through this traumatic event of his mother being shot by Susan. So the police call Isaac's dad. He comes running and he gives him a hug and stuff. Isaac's dad then gets notice from the police officer that AJ did not make it. And this is where I really felt a certain type of way with the documentary, because they showed this clip of the father finding out, of Isaac finding out, his other siblings finding out, and people in the neighborhood finding out, and them just grieving in this personal moment. I felt like Netflix really could have cut that out of the movie, because I feel like it was too much. Like, we didn't need to see those moments. We could have just skipped over that, or just mentioned it and then move on to what happened to Susan and her getting arrested and things. I don't think we needed to see that much of raw grief, because I feel like that's just such a personal moment, especially for young children to deal with the death of their mother by some crazy lady that just wanted to be racist, point blank, like she was being racist toward these people. And I just feel like Netflix really shouldn't have done that. And it was just very emotional watching the scene. I was like tearing up, and I never tear up in documentaries like that, but it was just too real. And I think that's where the body cam footage angle of this documentary, and not feeling so produced like a normal documentary, is where it really will hit people where it hurts, because this is just such a raw version of events that you don't really see when it comes to documentaries like that. Then after this scene, we move on to Susan being in a police station in the interrogation room. And one thing that caused a lot of commotion, rightfully so, is that Susan was not arrested directly after it happened, because the police didn't have enough evidence. So instead of her going straight to jail, or her straight to being detained, she goes home. Like that night when she does the interview with the police the first night, she goes home the day after, or that night or something. So she goes home. Obviously people are antagonizing her in the main neighborhood. They hate her. They want her dead. Basically they're like throwing stuff at her house and stuff. Rightfully so. I think they can do whatever they want at this point, because you murdered someone in cold blood because you quote thought that she was trying to kill you when she wasn't.
Lady.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm here because she called me.
Because she knows better than to be out here alone. That's why she got people with her. Because she knows.
Okay, but listen to me.
See what happened to the lady house?
Just make my life a little bit easier, okay?
Your life easier?
I'm not here.
Make your life easier? Are you fucking kidding me?
And I don't know. This is when we see the events from Susan's perspective. She said that the kids were trespassing, and that AJ was trespassing and trying to bang down her door by, coming and trying to protect her son. She said she panicked, picked up her gun, and shot her. She did not call 911 right away. Why not? She threw roller skates at the kids and swung the umbrella at the children. She kind of deflects this whole time when the police officer was trying to ask her, like, why did you do this? She was like, I didn't mean to. I was trying to protect herself. I thought she was going to try to kill me. Like, she's not really taking any responsibility for what she did. And once the police officer tells her, like, we're asking you these questions because somebody is dead, basically telling her, like, yeah, you killed her. You did this. Doesn't really seem like she has a reaction. It seems like she's just like, I don't know, in shock. Then the detective asked her what her motive was and how could she even see what she was shooting at if AJ was not inside her house, which that is what really got me, because how does Susan know that AJ was right there or that she was, quote, trying to kill her if she's on the outside of the door? She did not open the door. She did not bang down the door. She did not break into her house. So why is she just shooting once, doing anything? You know, I think that's what was like really showed that she really did not have any empathy or did not really care what she did, because she didn't even think about what she was doing. She literally just shot because she was tired of dealing with this lady. I feel like that's what it really happened down to it. And then once the detective leaves the room, that is when you kind of see she's like, seems like she kind of realizes what is going on here. This point in the documentary, that is when the lots of protests and things happen, because there was not an immediate arrest, that Susan gets to go home when she murdered someone. Like, why is she not arrested? I feel like she should have been arrested. And this is when the stand your ground law comes into play, because a lot of people are saying that, even the police say to it, like in her second interrogation of like, were you looking up things about stand your ground? Like, why did you think you had the right to shoot her?
Home desktop computer, is there anything kind of research on your internet history that would show that you've done research on like self-defense? Or have you ever heard of the term stand your ground?
Yes.
Have you ever done any kind of research on that?
Yes, when it was mentioned on some guy shot someone at a convenience store.
And if you don't know what the stand your ground law is, this allows people to protect themselves by using reasonable force, including deadly force. Florida has this law in place, and this might have been the reason why Susan thought she could shoot AJ without repercussion. I feel like the stand your ground law is really for situations like saying your house gets broken into and somebody comes into your house holding a gun. That would give you reasonable force by like hitting them or shooting them in the leg or something, and if they die, you can't really get charged for it because you were protecting your life, because they were threatening yours. And I think we come to find out that Susan was like Googling things about this years ago when it happened. Maybe even when she got into the neighborhood, she was looking up things about stand your ground, and she was kind of using that preemptively, like, hey, if I feel, quote, threatened and I feel like she's trying to kill me, maybe I won't get arrested for this. Then now we go back to the interrogation room the next day. This is when the police straight up ask her, did you say the N-word to AJ? Because AJ is a black woman. Like, did you say the N-word to her? Would that have ever slipped out of your mouth when you were talking to her at any time? And literally Susan straight up says, it could have slipped out once. Slipped out? What do you mean slipped out? You don't just casually say that as a white woman. You don't just casually say, hey, like, you, what? And this is when I obviously hated the lady before, but this is when I really hated her, because you don't even care. You don't even care that you killed this lady, that you took her away from her children, that you did all this stuff to her. You don't even care. Again, she describes what happened to her in detail. She focused on how often AJ was banging on her door, but it doesn't seem like Susan was that scared. She stops in the video when the police is interrogating her. It seems like while she was banging on the door, she like stopped and like went to wash her hands in the kitchen, and then she came back. And it's like, if you were that scared, why did you stop to wash your hands in the kitchen? She was like, yeah, I just didn't know who was at the door, so I went to go wash my hands before I answered it. Were you scared or not? Because if you're like in fight or flight, you're scared for your life, you're not going to go to the kitchen and wash your hands. So how does that make sense? And they're saying she preemptively looked up the stand your ground law days before the shooting happened. And they're saying that like the police mentioned her past interview where she basically instigated that the child should go get her mom in the first place. The kind of breakthrough moment goes because the police down the timeline of when she started calling 911. So she called 911 the first time at 8:54 p.m. because she said, yeah, I think these events happened in about 10 to 15 minutes of each other. Like, she had time to like think through these things. But no, she called the police the first time at 8:54 p.m., which the call was around 5 minutes long. The police say they're on their way at 8:59 p.m. She called again and then shot AJ at 9:01 p.m. So these events happened 5 minutes of each other. So it's not like she took some time, waited for the police to come, and then she felt like her life was threatened and then shot her. No, she called, hung up, called again, shot her. That was it. And then the police are saying, like, did you really hear her say, like, I'm gonna kill you? Did you hear her say that? Did you hear her say that I'm gonna kill you? Or did you think you thought you heard her say that? And is that what your motive is? Did you like imagine this in your head? Did she really say that? Like, they're really going at her about this, and they kind of bring her back to reality of like, hey, you killed this woman who had 4 children. She's gone because of you and what you did. So if you're not gonna tell us the truth, we're done. It's over. Obviously, she's charged with manslaughter. but this was a thing that I didn't really see coming. The officer asked if Susan would like to write a note to AJ's family about what happened, if she has any words to say to them or like apologize for what she did. And before she wrote the note, I was thinking, why would a child ever want to see or read a note from the woman that murdered their mother? I would never allow my child to read that. But I was watching a TikTok and somebody was mentioning that this is a way for someone to like confess, which I can definitely see that from what she wrote in the note, because I'll read to you what she said. After the police officer says that, he leaves the room. And at first I thought she wasn't going to leave a note. I thought she was just going to be like, yeah, I don't really care, I'm not going to leave a note. But her head in her hands for a couple of seconds after they leave the room. She picks up the notepad from the floor and begins to write the note. This is what the note said. I am so sorry for your loss. I never meant to kill your mother. I was terrified she was going to kill me. I shot out of fear. That just seems so like bland to me. Like, it seems like she does not care at all about what she did. It feels like she cares about herself and how she looks in the situation more than she did the children's lives and AJ's life, obviously. So after she does that, they come back and they say, you're getting arrested. Like, you're going to jail. Like, obviously the deputy comes back and says, yeah, you're going to jail. You know what you did. You're done, basically. And she's like, no, I'm not going. She's being defiant, like, no, I'm not going. Like, you don't understand. I was scared for my life. I'm not going. The deputy explains, like, this is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to jail. You'll have your day in court to speak for yourself. But, like, right now, you're going to jail. She keeps saying, I'm not going. The deputy is going back and forth with her. Like, she's being difficult. And I felt like she was being so dramatic. She literally said, I feel like I'm going to die from a heart attack. I feel like I'm going to die. Like, lady, you feel like you're going to die? Do you know what you just did to AJ? A mother of 4 kids. Did you not remember what you just did 5 seconds ago? Like 2 days ago? Do you not remember that? I was really getting pissed off with her at this part in the movie. I was like, and then finally she gets up and goes with officers, but I'm like, at least you have a choice to say no. AJ does not, because she's not on Earth anymore. So what do you have to say about that? But in the end, on November 25th, 2024, she's found guilty of manslaughter and she was sentenced to 25 years in prison. She really shows no emotion when the verdict is read. Honestly, she literally just sits there like she literally just sits there. The police officers go back and they say that no one heard AJ say on that night, yell at Susan, I'm going to kill you. Nobody has any recollection of that happening. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the documentary. I feel like this video is kind of all over the place because I didn't really write out a script for this. I usually write out scripts for these videos, but I really just kind of want to start doing these like recapping of documentaries because I'm the type of person that doesn't really watch documentaries. I really watch people, I watch other people talk about them, so I was like, maybe I could become one of those people that talk about documentaries. But that being said, my final thoughts about this documentary was, one, I thought it was really, really good. Besides I think the exploitation of the family's grief in the middle of it, I really did not like that whatsoever. Second of all, I was just really upset for AJ and her family members, especially her children and the whole neighborhood, because there were moments in that documentary where other neighbors are grieving the loss of someone that they saw every single day, taking care of her kids, being a great mother, like just living life with them, in the neighborhood. And it really just made me upset. I also will link AJ's GoFundMe in the description of this video because they do have a GoFundMe for her and her family. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any other documentaries you want me to watch. I know there's one on HBO that just came out about the Alabama prison system that I thought was really, really interesting. So I will probably do a video on that. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.